As Israel's new ambassador to the United Nations, I have been charged with a sacred duty to represent the people and the state of Israel before the nations of the world. When someone leaves their home holding a kitchen knife with the intention of killing another person, any person, this stems from deep hatred. When that someone is 13-year-old boy who stabs an Israeli boy riding a bicycle 15 times, this stems from a culture of hate. We hereby announce that no one has any intention of infringing the rights of Muslims to the places that are holy to them. Any attempt to describe the desire of the Jews to pray at this holy place as the creation of a strategic base for an attack on the mosques of the Muslims is nothing but the fruit of fevered imagination or a malicious libel. Do the words I read sound familiar? The statement I have just read was not issued last week. It was not even issued last year. It was made in 1928, by the National Committee of the Jews of the Land of Israel. Even then, 20 years before the establishment of the State of Israel, lies were spread about the Temple Mount in order to incite violence against Jews. In the violence which followed, back then, 133 Jews were massacred and hundreds more were injured. Today, when President Abbas declares, and I quote, Israel intends to make Al-Aqsa Jewish, and says, we welcome every drop of blood spilled in Jerusalem. He understands the consequences of his words. Then as now, the story is the same. Same plot, same characters, same ending. Actually, there is one major difference. In 1928, the convenient explanations we so often hear in this chamber didn't apply. In 1928, there was no Israeli presence on the Temple Mount. In 1928, there was no settlement, no state of Israel, and no excuses to sell to the international community. Whoever claims that Israeli actions and policies are the reason for the violence needs to learn a lesson in history. The Palestinians are employing old tactics and are trying to score easy victories without having to negotiate, without negotiation. They are using the violence they incited and instigated in order to manipulate the international community. Instead of penalizing the Palestinians, the international community is rewarding them. Israel is fully committed to the status quo. The status quo on the Temple Mount is the only guarantee for freedom of religion in Jerusalem. We have said it before and we'll say it again. Israel will not agree to an international presence on the Temple Mount. If the international community wishes to be constructive, it should focus on ending the incitement. No nation represented in this chamber would accept the presence of international forces on their capital. I would like to say to my colleague, the French representative, we know that your country wants to see peace in our region. We too want peace, but the only way to peace is with direct talks between the parties. This is the only way. The best way to reduce tensions in the region is to urge President Abbas to accept Prime Minister Netanyahu's call to meet with him, here in the UN, in Ramallah, in Jerusalem, wherever. This is the only way to promote peace. Israel opposes any change in the status quo on the Temple Mount. The place where the status quo needs to change is here, at the UN. If the UN is truly interested in calming tensions and bringing peace to the region, it must change its default settings. The UN must end its usual practice of calling on both sides to show restraint and state clearly there is one side that is instigating a wave of terror. Stop making excuses for the Palestinians and start holding them accountable. Demand that Abbas cease his incitement. insist that he return to the negotiation table. Only then, once the Palestinians see that promoting violence will get them nowhere, will the reality on the ground change and the prospects of peace return.